really glad I didn't learn to code. It's far better that I learned how to direct, lead, and manage people strategically in stages. Notion custom agents might be the most accessible and powerful way to add AI agentic support to your business right now. No code, no technical setup, just Notion. As of filming this video, they're brand new and potentially brilliant, but it's all too easy to create one that produces vague, inconsistent output if you don't know what you're doing. So in this video, I'm going to build a custom agent in Notion live from scratch and explain the strategy behind every decision, so you can go and leverage this new AI tech today in a way that actually delivers every time it runs. I'm Simon. I've spent the last few years building a six-figure content and education business on and around Notion, and in the last month alone, custom agents have already transformed what's possible. And here's the thing, the difference between an agent that technically works and one you'd actually trust comes down to three things: how you write the instructions, how you set the triggers, and how tightly you scope the access. I'll cover all three, and then I'll show you a tool I built called Meta Agent that helps everyone, including you, write better AI instructions, whatever your experience. And if you want a deep dive on what custom agents are, how the pricing works, and when they're worth it, I published a detailed breakdown on my main channel, Better Creating, and the link's in the description. Okay, let's do this. I'm in Notion. I'm going to click into the sidebar, and if you have agents enabled, you will see them here. There's a little bit of information about them. We're in beta at the moment. I'm going to click New Agent, and it gives me this view. I'm going to create one new. Before we start filling this in, let me quickly explain what you're looking at. A custom agent is AI that works in the background on its own without you prompting it. You give it instructions. If we just take a little look at one of my examples, my weekly briefer, it has those instructions in its page here. You have triggers when it would get triggered. This one, for example, is triggered on Monday at 7 a.m. or when I mention it in Notion, and you can chat with it in the chat box. Or if you can also add triggers from your calendar, Apple and Gmail or mail, as well as any events like when a property is updated in a database. And then you give it access to tools. And this is where you can give it web access, restricting it to certain domains if you want, but also to your calendars like I have here, to your email, where it can have various levels of granular permission, and pages within your workspaces. It could view and edit as you wish. That's it. Instructions, trigger, access. Those are the three building blocks of every custom agent. Now, you would be using a custom agent for repeating work that's the same every time. It might be customer service email triage, the admin around summarizing meeting notes, sending emails to clients afterwards, and sharing information in things like Slack. This is our meeting notes summary, and my weekly meeting organizer has just sent a weekly planning meeting summary to me and my colleague Jacob with a link to it. This was all done by the custom agent, and it wrote this summary. Look at that. A full summary of our conversation, all based on something essential when you're using things like this, which is AI meeting notes. So this just gives you a little bit of an idea of what a custom agent is. It will do anything that you don't need to be in the loop for. Oh, and while we're here, my weekly briefer, this is a good example of the email that it sends me that you just saw a moment ago. An analysis of the week, weekly priorities, links to those key tasks and meeting notes, recommendations based on my values and principles, things I missed. It's super, super cool. But that's just a taste. You can find out more on my overview of what these things are in a separate video. That's stuff that happens for you. But when there's anything that you need to be in the loop for, that is where I would propose that you still use your personal agent. That's what it's for. You'll find that in the AI chat in the bottom right-hand corner. And this is something that you can personalize, and it's included with the ability to add instructions. This is my instruction page. I've built out coaches and experts and strategists, and this is all included within the price of business and enterprise plans at no extra cost. Now, it's useful to know that custom agents use credits, and right now, Notion is offering a free trial so that you can test them before committing without paying the credits. That lasts until around May the 3rd. Now is the perfect moment to be trialing custom agents, working out how they work, and getting your usage to the right point that when credits are turned on, you can actually use them. More on that other video, I'll link it in the description at the end of this so you can go check it out. Okay, here's a little bit of clarity on pricing. Credits are going to be costing $10 per 1,000 monthly Notion credits, and you can purchase preset amounts in product starting in the hundreds and scaling to thousands depending on your team's need. So that's good to hear. If you can purchase in the hundreds, that seems reasonable. You can now track the patterns in your Notion credits dashboard. That's going to be settings, Notion AI, Notion credits. It's also important to clarify here that there are no changes to business or enterprise plan pricings. They're exactly as they were, and all the existing AI and personal Notion agent services that are part of those plans are on the same rate. So that's great, and all the more reason to make sure you're using your personal agent for the right things and being strategic about when you add a custom agent. And well, why don't we take a little look at that? I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to go to Notion AI, agents, and probably somewhere in here, we will see the credits, but we're not seeing them yet. So let's now build. Another way to start creating an agent is from your personal agent window and click Create Custom Agents, little shortcut. You've got 3 ways that you can do this. You can start from a template, and this will just put pre-written instructions into the system from Notion. These are simple templates. And if you go over to bettercreating.com/Notion agents, you'll be able to find all of my latest custom agents. Downloads available for free to test these out. And then you have the option to create something blank. Just start from scratch and do it all yourself. But what I'm going to do is use the AI chat because, to be honest with you, this is the most remarkable part of this process. Every custom agent has a built-in chat that helps you set it up, refine instructions, and improve it over time. Now, most people treat this as a one-time setup tool, but it's not. It can be an ongoing collaboration, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to use my favorite app to pair with Notion now that we're working with agents. Not a voice dictation service, it's a voice interface, and that is because it controls things and uses AI itself. I use Whisperflow, link in the description, you'll love it, and I'm going to use it to speak my prompt directly into this agent setup chat. It's how I work with all my agents. So let's do this. I want to build a weekly briefer agent. Every Monday morning, it should compile a summary of my week ahead, my top tasks, upcoming deadlines, calendar commitments, and unresolved emails. It should create a single Notion page with clear headings and bullet points. And I also want this agent to understand my values, my brand, and my goals. And Whisperflow just drops that in. Pretty cool. Now, something you can also do is mention pages. So we should also give it access to my, and then I can do @mention. And this is my Who Am I page. So I created a page, you can kind of see it back here, which has full details of who I am, my values, my brand, and all of that. And I want to use that for details on who I am. And I would like it to have access to my goals database. And I can do that. There it is. To ensure that its responses are tailored and always supporting key goals in some form. Great. So that's really good. Now, it's worth saying we probably want to give more detail than that, but let's just get going and let it generate. So I'm going to click go, and here you go. It's taking care of setting it up. Now, it might be because I've already set up things like my calendar and my email, it will just automatically set those up. But we'll look at that in a little bit. Now, it calls itself whatever it is. This is called Spirited Curator, but it's already, you see, changed it to Weekly Briefer, and you can see it's writing the instructions. So this is totally amazing. I love that by mentioning those, it's also set up the tools and access that we talked about earlier. And yeah, sure, it's actually also done the connection to my calendar and my mail. It's basically made, but that's how easy it is. It's completely insane. I love it. I would say this is probably not something that would just happen for you straight away, because you probably would have to set up those connections yourself. So what I might do is just remove the calendar account here. And so I can demonstrate how to do that again in a moment. But you can see it here, it's reported, what I've created. Every Monday at 8 a.m, it will do that, create a Notion page called this, the week ahead, top tasks, blah, blah, blah. That's really good. And it's got access to that. So you can click save. You have to save the agent for it to be able to operate. But we then want to iterate a little further. And I'm just going to show you how you can create its tools access. Now, if I wanted to, I could give it web access to certain things. So for example, I could just restrict it to https://bettercreating.com so that it can see that view and be able to look at my current website information if you wanted to. So you can also do that. It might be worth me quickly showing you AI connectors. If you go into Notion AI, this is where you can also set up your workspace connectors for apps that you want to be able to link things into. This is where you would enable MCP servers if you wanted to connect MCP things like I have done. Really helpful stuff. So yeah, that's the place to go and take a look. And you can understand what's happening. You've also got a connection section where you can connect external AI tools if you want to do things like use Claude from the outside and bring it into Notion. But to be honest with you, with Notion AI looking like this, it doesn't seem like many of us are going to want to do that soon. But let's just set up the calendar. You would click add a calendar account. I've already set up my connectors, so I can just add it. I can set whether I want it to be able to read teammates' calendars. I'm going to turn that off. And I can set permissions. You can set whether you want it to have confirmation, if it can modify events or not. Now, if you do turn that off, it does warn you, are you sure you want to let it do that? So this version would mean it would do things, but then update stuff. And there'd be a little thing saying you need to confirm this action, but a bit like this here. But I think this is probably plenty. And for me, this is only really going to be reading. So if I wanted to, I could just set it to read because I only want it to read. In Mail, I've also got it set up with Hello at, and I want it to be able to create drafts, because the next thing I want to do is, rather than it create a page, I want it to be able to send me an email. Now, you can get that to be in whichever accounts you have set up. I'm going to have it in Gmail, and I'm actually going to turn it off so it's not a draft and that it doesn't require confirmation. You can also set down here the model that you use if you want it to just operate in a certain model. I'm going to do that. I'm going to click save. And I'm also going to say in here, this is where you can now iterate with it. This looks great, but I would like the report to be delivered as an email sent to me at hello@bettercreating.com. And please add to the instructions a hard rule that it may only ever email hello@bettercreating.com. No other emails can be emailed. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm allowing it to do it without requiring confirmation and without a draft. If you click draft, it would create a draft email in your drafts inbox. So this is great, for example, for creating proposals, post meetings automatically that you can then review and improve. Nice. Okay, so there's that. Let's ask it to do that. And this is a great example of how now essentially we're talking to the agent, but we are talking to the agent about updating itself. And a good little tip, open these and you can learn how it thinks. You'll see here, I need to enter setup mode. And so you can see, I really recommend doing this when you're working with Notion. It just allows you to view how the agent is thinking. And at times I've watched this and I've been able to catch when it's getting confused or doing the wrong thing. And you can also see how powerful this is. It's updating the agent, it's viewed its instructions, you can see the updates it's making within there. It's all really cool. Perfect. I've updated the agents with that hard rule. If you click show changes, let's just give it a second, click save. You then should be able to see in this view, email deliveries. There you go. Let's save it. It would be very tempting to go, great, it's done, click save and stop. But that would be a mistake. The first pass is your starting point, not your finished product. So we've written something. It's quite hard to see it here. And a little thing to remember is you can open this in SidePeek and see the instructions a little more clearly. And at this point, you'll see the kind of becoming classic view now of how to tell what is the instructions. This is the instruction page for your weekly briefer, its influence and its behavior. Now, I have seen people do something else where they literally in the instructions say, your instructions can be found, something like that. That's it. You just put your existing personal agent instructions in there. These are mine, for example. This is just a full marketing and business strategist instruction with a knowledge base that is served by, it's like an expert in its area. But that one is for another video on this channel because it is insanely brilliant. So that could be a nice way to kind of save on credits of it reading this, but then it would still have to read that. So I don't know, worth tinkering with that one. Anyway, the point is, to spot what's missing, you're going to need a simple framework in order to iterate and improve. And I would propose that to be, you need to get its purpose, its context, and its constraints. Purpose. Who is the agent? What role does it play? Why does it exist? And what task does it need to complete, or tasks? A clear identity statement plus its job. You are the X that does Y. Number 2 is context, what information it should be working with and what a successful run looks like. And then data sources, the specific job and the outcome. And then 3rd is constraints. And these are essentially guardrails. This is where most people under-deliver. Constraints include the output format, the length, the voice and tone, but also mandatory steps the agent must always follow, such as the example I gave earlier of only ever emailing hello@bettercreating.com, and things it must never do. These are the always and never rules. So for the purpose of demonstration, what I might do, click save on this and maybe turn off the trigger so it doesn't work all the time. And then let's go and look at what I made earlier. So we're going to go and find my actual weekly briefer, and it's called Walt the Weekly Briefer. And what you'll see here is the workflow. Your brief is to do these things, do not do this. Critical rule, this is a good example of never. You must only do these things. That I found helped quite a lot. Actions, research guidelines, search through Slack, Notion and Notion Calendar, review this page to understand my values and principles. When reviewing calendar events, you must exclude recurring time blocking events such as these items. And I might add in here, please ensure you review the last 2 weeks to see where repeating items are clearly recurring time blocking events to avoid them. Actually, rather than please, key colleagues content. So I've actually listed my colleagues in here, so it has an understanding of who's in my team and who's not. Brief writing instructions. So I've got really specific about how it writes the brief, what it lays out, and then style instructions. So this becomes really quite specific quite quickly. Why don't we run an example of this agent now to test it? And this would be your next step. We're going to click save. Once you've made it, you've kind of just got to try it out. So if I click run agent, we will now see that the agent will start to work. And it's suggested here, you need to give it access to this. So I can click can view. So let's test the weekly Monday brief. So it's got a kind of test mode, which I think is really nice. Okay, so while that's working, why don't we do this? If I jump back over to the weekly briefer, I'm going to give it another name and we'll call this one Benny. I like naming them to the thing it might do. We'll go into the settings and let's ask Benny, nice, to improve his instructions. Make the instructions more specific. For context, I want the top 3 priorities from my task database, any deadlines in the next 7 days, calendar commitments that need preparation, and unresolved email threads that have the tag of Simon's inbox. For constraints, keep it under 600 words, use bullet points. If a section has nothing to report, always include the heading with nothing flagged this week rather than omitting it. Voice should be direct and actionable like a sharp chief of staff, not a chatbot. Add mandatory guardrails. Always include all 5 sections, even if empty. Never summarize tasks I've already completed, and stop if the calendar access fails rather than guessing. So let's now drop that in and we should see it go into update mode. While that's happening, let's just check how this is going. So this is a good example of emails being sent. We can allow it to continue. What's interesting here, just on the safety front around like privacy and control of these things, I really like how Notion have built in these constraints. So like this is actually set, I believe, on the email. It's not set to read and write. So let's set it to read and write. Allow anyway. So let's click save. I'm going to click continue so that then sends it over. So that's good. Let's just go and see how this is getting on. You can see it's given itself a task list. It's got to find my task database because it's going to need to add that in. Rewrite the instructions page and exit setup mode. So it probably would have been advisable for me to give it access to my tasks database, but let's see if it can work out which is my task database. That would be an interesting one because there's a lot in here. Great, so our example run on my existing one has run and we can go and take a look at it. So let's go do that now. Inbox, there it is from me. Weekly briefer, good morning, Simon. This week is a big one. You've got a hackathon spanning most of the week, judging duties, strategic business planning session, skills test, shine off. Week ahead analysis, this week's priorities. It's really good. Now it's interesting, it's formatted it slightly different and this is really nice how it signs off. I mean, look at that. What's interesting about this for me is I've now swapped it to a different LLM model. I think I've moved it to Opus 4.6 from Sonnet 4.5 and it looks totally different. So it is worth like playing with the different models and in auto to see what you get in terms of like the formatting. But you can also then iterate and ask it to do, oh, I'd like you to adjust this formatting and so on and so forth. But yeah, a really great example. This is now doing pretty well. One thing to flag, it couldn't locate my task database. Great. So I've now got to do that. So these are now much better. There's the purpose, data sources, tasks. So we can now reference my task database. So here we can go search Simon's database. And I think within this, I'm going to clarify whether these are tasks for his team or whether they are allocated to him. This is all good. Top 5 priorities. This is all so much clearer now. Guardrails are now in there. Look at the difference. It feels much, much better. And you can be very happy with that, I think. So we just need to check that the task database has been found. It did find the right one, but it doesn't have access. And you can see that it can't give itself access. Again, another great privacy constraint. So I can now do can view just for this one. That's all it needs. I think we're set to go. So click save. Now, if you want to really lock in how your emails are formatted, you could add that to the instructions. I would test it first, but here's a nice example of that. This is looking great. I've given you access to the task database. Now let's lock in the format of how you deliver this with an example. Add an example of what a good output looks like. A short sample weekly briefer page with the headlines and format I've described. Create a new page as a sub-page in these instructions. Let's see if that works. Great, so it's doing a great job of getting itself set up. It's creating the example output. So it says it's done it. Show the changes. Here's the example output. We go into it. Great, I'm gonna do one more thing. Okay, that looks good, but I'd like the example output to also have a more thoughtful and intentional tone. So it speaks to me like a focused coach and is more aligned with my Who Am I page in how it answers reports and signs off. Okay, there we go. We can see some various views. This is, of course, a new technology. And what you will come up against are things like this. It's having a permission issue. It created a page and now it can't access the page it created, probably because I haven't given that page access to it here. So I'm going to just start by like giving it the access to that page and make sure that it can edit it, and we'll save it. And then we'll say, please try again. I've given you access to the page. This would be a point where if it doesn't work, you would want to give feedback, because this is going to be part of that, notion of working on things. So this clearly is not working. Please continue the task. All right, let's try deleting the page. That seems to have allowed it to work. Now it's doing it, but we've deleted the page. So yeah, you see what I mean. So there's a little bit of this sometimes, but if that happens, once it's completed, you can just click on the thumbs down button on the bottom left of the chat and report it to Notion. Make sure you do that because it genuinely does start making it work. So what we could do here is click a little share and just say, the agent created a sub-page in its instructions, and then when I asked it to update them, it no longer had access. It should have been adjusted in how it created it and maintained access to any pages it had created. There you go, and I can just send it like that. This is why Whisperflow is so good. Okay, so we've done that. Let's see the changes. Okay, it's kind of better, but So we've now got a clear purpose, specific context, tight constraints with voice and mandatory guardrails, plus an example, all written collaboratively through chat. So let's talk about how we can get even better at this. Knowing the framework is one thing, but knowing what to ask for, what's missing, what the agent might misunderstand, that takes some experience in prompt engineering. So I built something to help you. I call it the meta agent. Imagine you're writing a recipe for the first time. You think you've covered everything, but then a chef looks over your shoulder and says, "You forgot to mention the oven temperature. Cook until done." Isn't specific enough. Say cook for 25 minutes at 180 degrees until golden. That's what meta agent essentially does, but for agent instructions. It's a Notion page with a structured framework, and the best part is you can give your custom agent direct access to it. I've got examples of how it might work, and it can help you rewrite instructions and improve their efficiency, and it's linked in the description. To quickly reference it, I'm going to go copy Command L, copy the link. We're going to go back in here and we're just going to give the agent access to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go add page and we're going to do paste the link, or you could just search at meta agent and add it in can view and click save. So I've gone into tools and access, added the access to the meta agent, and it can now use this as a resource. So let's now go back to the chat and watch this. I've given you access to the meta agent instructions page. Read it, then review our current instructions against that framework and work out how you could improve the instructions for reliability, precision, and token efficiency. So this is a good little tip. Asking your agent to improve its token efficiency, its precision and reliability. This is basically making sure that it does it consistently, that it does it precisely. So it's really specific about what you ask it to do, and it always does it without doing different things or hallucinating. And most importantly, it's not overly token heavy. There's not too much text in there to do that. So it's reading now the Benny instructions and the meta agent instructions, and it's going to score how well it's doing. Now that is based on the fact that I have a system in here to evaluate existing instructions, and it's following this evaluation report. So that's the first step that it has. Task A, evaluate. So if we now go back, we can see overall score 7 out of 10. This is my gift to you. Even better if you add it to Agent OS and get that. This will make your agent instruction writing so much better. Now the logic flow integrity here is a big gap. It's saying no defined execution sequence, no if-then logic, fixes. Now I actually don't need to go into details with you about all of this. You can test this out yourself. Memory and feedback, it doesn't have a live notes section either. That basically means you can get an agent to write up notes, but maybe we give it a section to be able to do that. It's suggesting it does critical priorities, improves these things. So let's do that. Fantastic. Please go ahead and improve those top 3 critical priorities. So if we open up the instructions, here they all are. It'll be interesting to see how it updates them. I mean, this is a bit of a wow moment, right? Look at what this thing is doing. It's just creating its own task list, working through those key ideas. This stuff is potentially language that you would not be using right now, right? If you're new to this, half of that doesn't have to make sense because agents can now do this for us. It's really, really powerful. So you can see it's now working through. All right, look at this. This is properly cool. It's got the thoughtful focused coach. It's aligned what I've asked it for. It's got a stronger execution sequence. It's reduced the token efficiency. So it's taken the words down to 530 instead of 750. That's huge because the more words in your instructions, the more expensive on credits this thing is going to be. It's got a global rule. Great. We're going to click save. There you go. 2 minutes, significantly tighter instructions. So when you're starting out and unsure what good looks like, something like my meta agent gives you the benchmark. Now, there's one more thing I'd like to do. Setting triggers. Let's look at this because there's a bunch of things you can do in custom agents already in Notion, and it's pretty cool. If you click add trigger here, you'll see you have some options. Probably the 2 key ones are on a schedule. So you can set in here every certain period of time at a certain time. I like the around midnight, that's quite cool. Starting, ending presumably around midnight. I don't know why that's there, but I wonder if using that would allow you to save money. Who knows? How many runs, specific date you want it to stop working. So this could be set up for a limited time to triage applications for a job and then stop. That would be really cool. You can set your time zone and all that. So that's cool. You've then got when a comment is added to a page, it'll work. So it might help you with a page. When a page is added to a database, so this might be when something's added, it does something. Properties are updated and pages are removed. So this is all really useful around knowledge management and an agent that might answer questions about things. And then we've got calendar and mail settings. Apple is shown there. So as long as you're connecting things in, probably through Notion Calendar, but I think you can do it to various accounts. But really this is a kind of Gmail and Apple focused thing. And then you've got mail as well, which is purely at the moment Gmail. So that's all really cool. And then probably the coolest one is Slack. And my favorite thing about Slack is you can set it up so that when an emoji is added, it will do something like send a weekly brief. Now, this is probably not the best agent to demo this in. So why don't we just jump over to one of my existing ones that I might want to try out. And if we go to home, so I've got my customer service weekly analyzer here, which essentially analyzes customer service emails from Notion. But let's say I wanted to use Slack for my colleague Lisa to be able to ask questions of the analyzer. So we could go and connect Slack. What don't we do when the agent isn't mentioned? Click connect. I'm going to select Better Creating's workspace. I'm going to click allow and reopen Notion. So let me just show you a quick example in business and strategy where I've connected my strategist. Here is the online business and marketing strategist. I've said, let's work on my offer, and here it goes. And it's starting to work with me. And what I absolutely love about this is how on the nose this is. Agentic business transformation is exploding. This is the area that I'm focusing on with the method. And I mean, it's just, look at this. It's so detailed and so powerful, and I can continue to have conversations with it. It's like talking to a teammate. So plenty of things are possible. But for Benny, it's pretty simple. I just want him to run weekly on a Monday in the morning. So let's just go at 6 a.m. UK. Click save, and that's triggers set up. It's always nice to be able to chat with Benny, and I really like the app mentioned. But yeah, play with triggers. There's plenty in there. So yeah, there you go. Pretty cool. Now, one principle I think is really worth remembering when it comes to triggers and agents is this. One job, one agent. 5 focus agents are easier to test, easier to fix, and cheaper on credits than one agent doing 5 things. Let's now talk about scope and access. And the golden rule, I think, comes with that, which is tighter scope equals better output and fewer credits. So I've got quite a lot of scope within here. I would be careful to open this up with all the pages shared with everyone. But I think I've got plenty here. It can view things. It can only edit this page. That's all it needs to edit, and it sends me an email. So it is quite well contained. So I'm quite happy with that. It's reading my calendar, it's reading my goals database and my task database. I might just want to add one more, which is projects, because this is another place that I work, can view. And this is where it's about like quality of detail. I could have the option to add the meeting notes database that it could view, and it could view meeting notes within the last week. And that wouldn't be unhelpful to hear, what's been discussed and what's happening, but it could end up being quite costly. So I'm going to start with my agent just on projects and tasks. As long as I keep that context updated, we should be all good. But if you're someone that knows it's better that you run everything in meetings, then I would swap some of that out and make it about your meetings database. You get the idea. Let's save it and leave it like that. And we just need to make sure, please ensure that you, in the instructions, reference that the agent should also check the projects database. So I'm not giving it my entire workspace, no CRM, no content database. And that's just because of that. The less it reads, the more focused the output and the cheaper it is. Now, the gotcha, mentioning a page in your instructions does not give the agent access to it. You have to have added it. You've got to have gone down. So if I've just mentioned the projects database here, that's not going to do anything unless it's also given access down here. So in tools, make sure you do it. Skip this and the agent can't see what you're asking it to look at. We are fully configured. I'm going to click save and we're ready to go. But don't just save and walk away. Make sure that you test it. So this is our test and iteration process we've been demoing, but I think we should probably finish off and see it run. So that button up the top is the best way to test it. So if we go back into our instructions, click run agent, let's see what it does. I enabled the Monday at 6. Let's run as if it was that. Now, as you can see, writing agents and creating agents is more like being a strategist and a manager and a leader than it is a coder or a prompt engineer. If you know how to use this system, you don't need to be a complete expert. And that is what this is all about, accessible agentic systems for the non-tech people. Because to be honest, I'm really glad I didn't learn to code, because right now it's far better that I learned how to direct, lead, and manage people strategically in stages. I'm a theatre director. I learned how to instruct people in choreography. And to do that, I gave them tasks, iterating simply on clear instructions that built to success. That is exactly what this is. It's not being a coding expert. Now, of course, for some things that will be useful, but this is where I'm at. I'm building a business about people, and I want agents to help me make that better, scale faster, and be simpler to do. This is the answer. So it looks like we're done. The simulation has been completed, and here's what it did. Flagged everything. It was composed and sent. So let's go and take a look. Here we go, weekly briefer, and there you go, top 3 priorities, final proof, deadline, so on and so forth. Now, it's not bad, but I don't love the formatting. And what we're doing really here is iterating and debugging. So we now just go back and continue the process. It looks good, but the email is formatted really badly. Please add that it should always say hello and welcome me to my weekly brief and sign off at the end, and that section titles should be formatted in a way that allow it to look good in email. A lot of this is about quality of experience, right? There we go. That looks much better. Here's your weekly brief, week ahead, priorities, so on and so forth. A good example of what you want it to be. I mean, I'll be honest, for this demo, I went back to the one I made earlier. And to finish off, we should also just briefly talk about back on the main agent page, you'll see the recent activity and you can search how it's been working. Now, obviously everything has happened in chat here, but if we go and look at one of my other systems that runs automatically, you'll see that we have a scheduled trigger that ran, and we can go and look at that, see what it did. This is where you're able to debug, and you can see it successfully finished its task, ticked everything off, and did the process. So this is really nice. So we've built one agent, but this is very much just the start. I now have a small team of custom agents running in the background, meeting organizers, email reviewers, weekly briefers, customer service assistants. They handle the repeating work, stuff that doesn't need me in the loop. My personal agent is still my daily collaborator. I can research, write, develop ideas, make decisions, and particularly use it as an expert strategist in certain areas. This is the distinction I think's worth remembering. Custom agents that work for you, personal agents that work with you. Together, they're the team, and Notion for me is the best place to do this right now if you work with knowledge and information. The thing I really just want to get across to you guys is the method behind all of it. It's the same: clear context, specific outcomes, tight constraints. And well, that's what that meta agent template can help you build. And if you want to take your personal agent much further, I actually recommend you make a little investment in my Agent OS system. You should check out the reviews on Notion Marketplace and on the Better Creating website, because seeing so many of you share how fantastic that agent has been in transforming your work, and I hope it can do the same for you if you haven't yet tried it. How can you help me, and who are you? Research, writing, strategy, problem solving. Agent OS gives your personal agent structure, context, and memory. So it actually knows you and your business. The meta agent is included inside it. So if you want both a system for your personal agent and a tool to write better custom and personal agents, Agent OS is the one to grab because I've also found a way to make this a system that has multi-modes, experts in certain areas. My favorite has to be these coaches and expert strategists who are built around entire knowledge bases that you can build out to inform how they think and how they help you. And by the way, a quick note, Agent OS allows you to build your own modes. It includes 6 ready-made ones, including that prompt engineer. But here's some examples of my own modes that I've built out. These ones here are included, but then I've actually created my own modes further to that, which I think get really exciting. So there's plenty more ways to use this. I even made an entertainer and satirist. So yeah, this is an example of my personal agent, not the full version that you would get, but the point is I'm giving you the fishing rod, not the fish. Link in the description if you want to check it out. Don't go anywhere because you're going to want to hear this. That's how you build a custom agent that actually works. And there's a full overview of custom agents, what they are, what they're potentially going to cost, the decision framework behind how you use them over on the Better Creating channel that I'll link below. But if you want more builds like this, you're going to want to see the next one. I'm planning a full series on systems made better around building out our agentic business and work systems. And when it's ready, it'll be right here. Either way, you should watch this next because it's just going to keep helping you out. See you on the next one. Bye.